Are vaccinations good for young children? Ever since their discovery by Edward Jenner back in 1796, vaccines have been lifesavers that have helped us out of the worst plagues and diseases in human history. Without them, we would still be battling smallpox, diphtheria, mumps, rubella, tetanus, and other deadly diseases. This makes vaccines one of the most important medical advances in history, right alongside the discovery of penicillin and anesthesia. However, even though immense efforts are made by governments around the world and the World Health Organization to immunize the world population against known pathogens that used to be leading causes of death just a few years ago, there are many people who are against getting them and still refuse to vaccinate their young children. This raises the question, do vaccines do our kids more harm than good? Are there negative side effects that we don't know about for the common flu shot or other vaccines? Are we putting our young ones at risk by having them immunized at an early age? Join us today as we uncover the truth behind these questions regarding vaccines. But before we do, please give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell for more videos. So, what are vaccines and why do we need them? Vaccines are medicines that train our immune systems to recognize and destroy harmful pathogens like viruses and bacteria. Even though we are normally immune to many pathogens, there are others to which we are not. So we rely on vaccines to give us that immunity we lack and to protect us in case we come into contact with a potentially deadly virus or bacteria. Getting a vaccine shot is pretty much like giving our immune system the right weapons to combat a disease before it kills us. But if you think that getting a vaccine shot is only about protecting ourselves, then think again, since it is as much for the protection of others as it is for ourselves. This is because of a concept we hear constantly in the news since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic called herd immunity. You see, when we're immune to a virus, not only do we not catch it, but we also won't spread it around. If enough people in a population become immune to a virus or bacteria, they will shield and protect the other non-immune individuals in the herd. However, you'll be surprised to find that even though vaccines have been proven to work and helped us get rid of diseases like Ebola, rabies, and smallpox, some people have been advocating against vaccination. The effects of this behavior have already been felt across the US, and we'll explore them later in this video. But first, let's see how vaccinations protect us and why people think they're bad for kids. How do vaccines work? Before we answer that, we have to look at how our immune system protects us against viruses and bacteria. A simplified version of the story begins with our innate immune system, which holds a complete library of pathogen recognition molecules called antibodies. There is one antibody for almost every pathogen, but each is in short supply. What our body does to save up space and energy is that it only replicates antibodies when it needs them, like during an infection. When a pathogen enters our body and is recognized by an antibody, it sounds the alarm and the immune system does two things. One, it sends its artillery to kill the recognized pathogen, and two, it immediately starts reproducing that antibody in case there may be more virus particles or bacteria floating around inside our body. This process usually takes a couple of days, giving the pathogen the window of opportunity to multiply and wreak havoc. But hopefully, before it becomes deadly, there will eventually be enough antibodies around to recognize and destroy all remaining virus particles or bacteria. If the attack was dangerous enough, the immune system leaves behind an early warning system made up of memory cells that remember the pathogen and coordinate a much faster and effective immune response in case that virus or bacteria comes around again. At this point, we become immune to it. A vaccine usually contains either an attenuated, dead, or shredded version of the pathogen, or a very similar yet less harmful live virus or bacterium. When we get our shot, we are tricking the immune system to go through all stages of the immune response, and ideally without the negative side effects of the real disease. By the end, we're loaded with memory cells that'll recognize that pathogen wherever they see it. Now that we know how vaccines work and how good they are at preventing disease, let's cover the most pressing question. Why are some people against vaccines? There are actually several reasons why. Number 1. The MMR Vaccine and Autism. This is the #1 cause behind the anti-vaccine movement. In recent years, there has been a steady increase in the number of reported cases of autism spectrum disorders, or ASDs, around the world. One scientist speculated that the reason behind this increase was the worldwide immunization program pushed by the World Health Organization to roll out the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, known as MMR. This got a lot of people worried for their children's health, so they opted out of vaccination. However, countless studies have emerged since and proved beyond any reasonable doubt that there is no relation between vaccination and autism. In other words, there's nothing to suggest that the MMR vaccine causes ASD, but old fears remain. #2. Deadly side effects. There have been reported cases of severe negative side effects to some vaccines that include allergic reactions, pneumonia, encephalitis, and in some cases, even death. However, what most of those who spread around this information didn't mention is the fact that these side effects are incredibly rare. It would be far more likely for our children to catch a life-threatening disease if we don't immunize them than it would be for them to have these severe side effects. In the case of measles, the actual disease is several thousand times more dangerous than any potential side effect the MMR vaccine has ever caused. #3. Big Pharma conspiracy theories. Another reason some people don't immunize their kids is because they are convinced that vaccines are just placebo drugs big pharmaceutical companies produce only to sell and make their millions. While most people don't believe this to be the case due to the amount of scientific evidence proving vaccines to save lives, these rumors and misinformation are causing more harm to our kids than the vaccines ever will. There is no real danger in going through with your child's vaccination schedule. Doing so will actually help them have a healthier life and avoid unnecessary illnesses. But the anti-vaccine movement has already had a heavy impact on our kids' health and well-being, and they haven't been pretty. Keep watching to see how. The consequences of the anti-vaccine movement. According to the World Health Organization, if more than 8% of the population isn't vaccinated against a disease, herd immunity is compromised, and so is public health. This was proven right by the anti-vaccine movement. In California in 2014, almost 15% of kindergartners were not given the MMR vaccine by choice of their parents. As a consequence, there was an outbreak of measles, mumps, and whooping cough in California that year that spread to almost 100 kindergartners. The outbreak turned into an epidemic, and by 2019, we were already looking at almost 700 cases of measles and 700 more of mumps all across America, the highest case count in the past 25 years, even though nationwide vaccination had eradicated the disease in 2000. This goes to show how important vaccination is to protect not just ourselves, but everyone else as well. It's the responsible thing to do, and we shouldn't trust our children's health to a roll of the dice. That's it for our video about whether or not vaccination is good for kids. Would you rather avoid vaccination and risk your kid catching a disease, or get them immunized and risk the infrequent side effects? Do you know anyone who believes in the anti-vaccine movement? Join the conversation in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to check out some of the deadliest viruses that have ever plagued mankind throughout history, make sure to watch this video that is popping up on your screen. It'll make you think twice about missing your next scheduled visit to the pediatrician for your kid's shots. Thanks for watching.